Are we actually filming again? For like the first time in 2 months? I think so. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Kendal, and today I'm going to be telling you guys all of the books that I plan to read in the month of August. As you can tell, the month of August has already started, and I have already started conquering my TBR. First things first, I'm not usually filming in this setting. This is technically like my bedroom setting, and I film in my office setting with my library, that I like to call it. But basically all of my books and my bookshelves and stuff like that are in there. But I am currently going through all of my books. I've been unhauling books and donating, getting rid of them, like figuring out what I'm actually wanting to keep. And I've also been doing the same with bookish goodies such as book sleeves or candles or anything that like is decor for shelves I've been going through. So the room is kind of a mess right now, and I really don't want to film in front of it. So we're gonna do this video here, and hopefully in my next sit down video I will be in the office and it will look better. Another thing to mention is that this TBR is also going to be a little bit shorter than my normal TBRs. I just picked out a few books that I think are priority reads for me this month. I do start back school at the end of this month, so I have a lot to get ready for, and I'm hoping to pump out a lot of fall content. Starting with this video, August is going to be mostly fall reads. I would consider them fall reads, but hopefully the fall content stays at a constant pace. And maybe the end of the year will slow down a little bit just because I am in school right now. I'm working on my last semester of like basic school before I get into hopefully the occupational therapy program that I'm applying to. And so things are going to start to pick up at the end of the year for me, starting probably in October, November, pretty much through all of 2025. So I have a lot to prepare for, a lot to get done and to focus on. So YouTube is not really my main priority right now, but I still want to try and put out content as best as I can. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the books that I'm planning to read this month. I'm very excited about all of them and cannot wait. So let's dive in. So the first one that I'm planning on reading, I always mention this at the beginning, but it's mainly my #1 priority to get to. I do have a Patreon that is called the Dreamy Dragon Den, and we are reading a book this month. We read a book every month and discuss it, and it's just so much fun. It's my favorite part of the Patreon month, honestly, because we all have such different opinions, and it's just fun to see what people think of the books that we pick out. They also get to vote. I always give them 3 options of different books. I try to do different genres, and I try to stick to like 2 newer options and 1 backlist option, just so that everybody has a chance to get a hold of a book, and whatever they choose that wins the majority of the votes is what we read for the month. And they decided to choose Malice House by Megan Shepherd. There wasn't anything really coming out in August that I felt like was a must get to this time of month, or that I wanted to do like as a book club. There are a few that I want to read, but I want to hold them close to my heart because they mean a lot to me, and sometimes I let other people's opinions or criticisms get in the way of me enjoying a book, and I don't want that to happen with certain ones. So we decided to do an all backlist month of August. So we're going to be reading Malice House, and I'm super stoked. I've had this book since it came out, which was in 2022, and I have been waiting to read this. Olivia and Elizabeth, both of my friends, have said that this is a great book. They think I really will like it, and they think it's so underrated, and I can't wait to see what all the hype is about. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, which is amazing when it comes to picking out group book club picks, because it just, again, opens up the possibility of somebody being able to actually read with us. And I also feel like this one is going to be a perfect transitional book from summer into fall, because I'm definitely looking for more fall reads right now. I'm kind of over summer, if I'm honest, and I feel like this one is definitely going to kick off the fall reads for me. So we're following our main character, whose name is Haven, and she is in her dad's house now. He has passed away, and she is clearing it out, cleaning it up. I'm probably getting it ready to sell if I had to guess. And she stumbles upon a book that he has written. He is a well-known author, and she finds a bunch of short stories in this book about some really creepy creatures, humans, just really weird things that are supposed to be in between this world and another world. And she is very horrified by them because they are creepy, but she's also just intrigued by them. She gets to a point where she's wanting to illustrate them and just bring them to life, and her dad has warned her that she does not need to stay in this house because he has warned her that it is haunted, but he also had dementia before he passed, and so she doesn't know if that's his mind playing tricks on him or if he was telling the truth. And Haven is already kind of dealing with her own drama. She is going through a divorce, and so she thinks that illustrating this book of her dad's and having like this collaboration with him would be exactly what she needs to just kind of get ahead in her career, and, you know, put her foot in the art community. But everybody is wanting a piece of this manuscript that she found. Everybody in town, there are a bunch of different people that are going to get introduced. They mention that her father's obsessive literary salon members want the manuscript for something. Her neighbor, there's a young barista and a literary business, and also somebody who keeps trying to break into her house. But one night, Haven finds a monster under her bed, and all of a sudden murders start happening. So Haven is going to have to dive into what is going on closer, and it sounds exactly like something I need right now. So the next book that I really want to get to is a book that has not come out yet. I was so thankfully sent this by Hachette, and they sent me a finished copy, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to read it. I am hopefully going to be picking this one up very soon, and it's just going to be a really good time. One of my favorite books that I have read so far this year has been A Feather So Black by Lyra Celine, and she blurbed this book saying it's sublime and seductive, full of midnight magic and spun glass secrets. I never wanted to wake up from this luminous fever dream of a novel. And that was enough to tell me on it. This book will be coming out later this month on August 27th, and that is The Enchanted Lies of Celeste Artois by Ryan Graudin. And I just fell in love with this cover. I love the little skull that we have going on here, and it literally draws me in. I am a sucker for cozy fantasy, but if you can make more of a lyrical fantasy, I feel like I've gotten into those. I would consider this book around the same kind of vibes that you would get from The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue or A Feather So Black, and those are both books that are all-time favorite books of mine. So I just have a really good feeling going into this one. So this one says, once Celeste Artois had dreams of being an artist, but when the creative elite of Paris dashed those plans, she turned her talents to forgery and cons. She and the other enchantresses, her two fellow thieves and best friends, see Paris as a rich hunting ground for marks. There's always more to take, but the blood Celeste has begun to cough into her handkerchief means her time is running out. Everything changes when she encounters Rafe, a mysterious and beautiful stranger who reveals to Celeste a magical Paris hidden in the pockets and alleys of the ordinary world. He offers Celeste an irresistible deal, the gift of time in exchange for lending his benefactor her forging talents. But there's more to this hidden world than meets the eye. Shadows have begun to circle Paris, and soon, Celeste and the other enchantresses will find that true magic is far more powerful and deadly than they ever imagined. I mean, is there anything else that I need to say about this book? It just sounds magical, and I'm ready. The next book that I really want to get to, I got this edition from Owlcrate. I'm subscribed to their adult fantasy box, and I was absolutely floored when I got this book in the mail, and it's one of my most anticipated reads. I had a friend of mine, Rachel from the Bestie Book Sleeve, who just read this book and absolutely loved it. She absolutely loved it. She was like, you have to pick this up because if you were looking for cozy fantasy, this is what you need in your life. And my friend Elizabeth also has read this and she absolutely loved it, so I cannot wait to get to it. And that is The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. Sarah Beth Durst has written so many different genres and so many different things, and she just does them all so well from what I've heard. This will be my first book that I've read from her, but I am excited about it nonetheless. So just so you guys can see how gorgeous this cover is, I mean, look at the spine, the back. I'm obsessed with it. But that's not even it, okay? You take it off, the dust jacket, and you get an even prettier book underneath. Literally cannot get enough. So I could mispronounce some names here, and I'm sure I will get them right next time when I listen to the audiobook. But Keela is our main character, and she works in a library, a really magical and secure library, with her assistant, who is a spider plant named Kaz, and I actually love that. And they work on protecting these books and upkeeping them and just, you know, keeping all the magic within them. If y'all see Peanut Butter over here in the corner, she's visiting. But the library catches on fire one day, and Kaz and Keela take as many spell books as they can fit in their arms, their bags, or whatever else they have, and they take off for the place where Keala grew up, which is an island, and they hide. And she meets this next door neighbor who is just so insistent on taking care of her. He sounds like the perfect golden retriever boy, and I love that. She also decides that she needs a way to make some income, so she starts making jam, which the island that she lives on does not have. And she also starts selling spell books and stuff like that. And literally it says at the very end that this is like a Hallmark rom-com full of mythical creatures and fueled by cinnamon rolls and magic. What more do you need out of a book? So this definitely feels like a very cozy book. I also always associate cozy fantasy with fall, no matter what time or place it takes in. And I think that's just because they make me feel good, and I love anything in the fall that just makes you feel good. The next book that I want to read is Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. This author previously wrote Mrs. Nash's Ashes, and a lot of people have been raving about that book and saying that it's really good, and this one just sounds very cute and quirky. And again, it's on a little farm. We have a little goat over here. There's a little ghost up there, and that's just the way to pull me in. If it happens on a farm or a little small town, romance with some humor, you got it. And to add a little bit of like maybe possibly magical elements or fake possible magic, I'm in. So Gretchen is a fake medium. She pretends that she can talk to ghosts and different things like that. So she is hired to get rid of this ghost out of this goat farm so that the guy can either live or sell this property, but he can't do it while it's haunted. So Gretchen is hired thinking it's this sweet little old man, and she just has to pretend and like cleanse his house of this ghost and get rid of it, and then he can sell his farm and she'll have helped him out. But he's not just a little old man. She meets Charlie, who is the owner of this goat farm, and he is around her age, and he is really cute. And, you know, she knows that she's not going to be able to get this whole medium thing over on him like she would if he was older. So she starts doing this cleansing thing and hoping that Charlie is going to take the bait, which he is not easily persuaded by her. And she ends up finding an actual ghost named Everett who is stuck, and he is trying to communicate with her and have her communicate with Charlie, so Charlie doesn't end up like every other ghost that is on the Gilded Creek farm, and that has been that way since the early 1900s. So she has to use this month of cleansing the ghost from the farm and actually convincing Charlie that he can't sell this farm. He has to keep it. And she's gonna realize she has a lot of tough choices ahead of herself. She's gonna have to be true to who she is and come out and say, you know, I'm not a medium. Like, she has to realize her true self before she can help somebody else realize theirs. Another big reason I want to read this book is that Alex E. Harrow and B.K. Borison both blurbed this book, and I completely trust them fully with my reading, and so it's just going to be a really good time. Another book that I'm going to be reading doesn't come out until September 10th of this year, and it is Casket Case by Lauren Evans. And I'm super stoked about this book. I think this one is also kind of related to Happy Medium in a way, where it's more of those spooky or paranormal type of romances, but they're just quirky and fun to read. And I'm super excited about this one. This is also this author's debut rom-com, and I just feel like it's going to be a good one. It says a young woman returns home to run her family's casket business and falls in love with a seemingly perfect stranger. But there's just one problem. He works for death. Nora thought she was finished with Rabbittown, Alabama for good, but an unexpected tragedy turned her life upside down, and she's found herself back in her tiny hometown running the family casket business. There aren't exactly a lot of prospects for a single woman in her 30s in a place like Rabbittown, until Nora's ordinary casket selling day is interrupted by a handsome stranger wandering into the shop and asking for directions, as well as a date. Garrett Bishop seems like the ideal guy. He's thoughtful, he's kind, and he has a lucrative job as a logistics coordinator, for which he seems to have a passion. She's not sure what logistics entails, but she knows it means long hours, lots of travel, and urgent calls in the middle of the night. When a few of Rabbittown's residents suddenly pass away, a heart attack here, a car crash there, and Garrett is spotted at the scenes of, well, all of the deaths, his frustratingly vague job description starts to become increasingly suspicious. What is it that Garrett actually does for a living? He's a logistics coordinator for death. When Nora discovers the truth, she is unable to reconcile the wonderful man she knows with the unthinkably cruel job he loves. Will she ever be able to understand how he can do what he does, or will she have to lay her best chance at love to rest? It sounds very interesting. It kind of sounds like Belladonna with the death aspect meets The Dead Romantics, and I'm just so stoked to see what it's about. I feel like, you know, I just have a really good feeling about some of these books this year that are coming out, and I hope that this one doesn't disappoint. The next two books kind of go hand in hand, and I'm not going to go into a ton of what they are about because they are the second and third books in a series, but I will be reading Foxglove and Wisteria by Adalyn Grace. I'm hoping to buddy read these with my best friends, Rachel, Elizabeth, and Olivia, and we are so excited for it. This is Rachel's first time reading Belladonna, and when her and Elizabeth finish that, I'm going to be reading Foxglove with them, and then Wisteria comes out later this month, and I will be reading that as well. But if you're not sure what this book is about, this is following the characters from Belladonna, obviously, and so will Wisteria, I believe. And I'm just so excited because I absolutely loved Belladonna. I read it last year and it was really good. It's very dark and gothic and kind of reminds me of House of Salt and Sorrows and House of Roots and Ruin, but it has its own twist and it's just so much fun. Also love the covers. I find them absolutely stunning, both the US editions and the European editions, so I cannot wait to get into it, and if you haven't, please check them out. Another book that I'm also buddy reading with my friend Elizabeth, even though she has already finished it and I am just now really starting it, is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the third book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series and the last book in that series as well. I recently reread Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After because I read them a year or two ago and could not for the life of me remember a ton that happened in the books, but now that I reread them and talked them out with somebody, I think it was a lot easier, and so I'm very excited to get into this one. I think I'm about 50 pages in so far, and I'm already just clutching the edge of my seat. There's been a very big build up to this book, and again, you are following a character that is first introduced in the Caraval series, so if you haven't read that series, I highly suggest reading it first. You don't have to, but I think that you will definitely get spoiled for things from that series if you read the series first. But I'm gonna see if this book is the one to redeem Jax for me because he needs it. He needs it. That's all I'm gonna say. The next book that I plan to read is going to be a reread for me, and that is so that I can read the next book in the series, hopefully when it comes out later this month, and that is Assistant to the Villain by Nicole Maehrer. I read this book last year. It was one of my top, if not my favorite book of last year that I read, and this is one thing that helped push me into the cozy fantasy and find out that I really, really love it. I literally am so obsessed with the characters and the world in this book. I love Nicole Maehrer. I think she's an amazing person. I follow her on all social media platforms because I just Love her. She is just so genuine and real, and she feels like a YouTuber, book talker come into an author, and it just, I love that because it just, they know exactly what we want to read. They know what we want to read. And the sequel to this book, Apprentice to the Villain, actually comes out on the 6th of August. So I really want to pick this one up so that I can read it and fall back in love with the characters and then pick up the next one. And the last book that I plan to read this month is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I have read, I think, half of this book before and put it down, but that was 2 to 3 years ago. I just don't think I was really in the mood. I also am now more of an audiobook person, and I've heard that this book has a great audiobook to go along beside it, so that makes me very excited. I also recently, or this year, read The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson and loved it. I loved her writing, so I don't think it's a problem with that. I think it was just a problem of maybe I wasn't into it at the time, but I'm definitely ready to give it another try. I'm very excited as well because the Netflix show just dropped for the United States, and it just makes me so excited because I love getting to see books turned into adaptations and just see all the characters and storylines come to life. Most of you probably already know what this one is about, but this says, this is a story of an investigation turned obsession. Pretty and popular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend Sal Singh, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about, and 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project, at first just to cast doubt on the original investigation. But soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and now her own life might be in danger. There are also 2 books after this one, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead. So I'm definitely excited to see what this one entails. I also think it has kind of a podcast element to it, which will make this even more fun. I always love a good podcast element. But yeah, I'm just stoked. I've heard so many people rave about this one, so I'm hoping it doesn't let me down. But those are all the books that I plan on reading this month. Hopefully I get to them. I'm not stressing myself out. As I said, I do have school and I have work, so I have a lot of things that are top priority for me at the moment, and reading is not that right now. So we're just hanging in there and seeing how it goes. But definitely stick around because there's going to be plenty of fall content to come. I have a few vlogs that are coming out this month that I'm super stoked about, and within the following months as well. But thank you guys for sticking around and never ceasing to amaze me with how much you guys support me. I truly appreciate it and cannot thank you guys enough. But I will see you guys in my next video.